Welcome everyone to TiECon 2023, the Cloud and Edge track. This track is going to be about what I would call a little bit more deep tech, which is platform re-engineering and the challenges and opportunities we face with multi-cloud architecture. One of the things you'll see about this panel is that this panel is uniquely qualified to talk about this topic. Deep tech is a kind of tech that impacts everything that's built on top. And so we have some very interesting panel. We have Schwartz from NetApp. We have Nallappan from Broadcom. We have Narasimhan from Accenture, who specifically works on the cloud side and helps his clients. And then we have Monty, Bhatia, who works at VMWare and works with system integrators and also customers. We have people who can give us some perspective from a customer standpoint and also technology standpoint. So welcome the panel. Usually I'll answer at the next part that there is a huge AI wave and so on, but for the question, I'm just ignoring that part completely. I think the other wave that we are seeing is a very competitive, innovative landscape where basically every company is focusing on innovation, and I think I'll put it as a different wave, but it's still very connected. Companies huge focus on data and what they can achieve from data, even going beyond AI. It's analytics and automation and things like that. I think we are seeing all of these waves kind of impacting the customer. If I kind of translate that into your questions around cloud and how does it impact the architecture chosen in the cloud, I think the customers are looking for flexibility, whether it's coming because of the economy, because of the need for innovation. They're looking to work fast and with maximum flexibility. I think cloud is playing a very major role as a choice there. Your ability to kind of switch your choices, scale up, scale down, is really there. I think the macroeconomics is actually showing the customers their need to focus on cost efficiency and really how to consume resources correctly. And it's also putting pressure on vendors and giving more and more options that are giving the customer better choices and ability to get the right price and still achieve their business goals. And I think the last part is really the ecosystem innovation. So I think the pressure on the pace of innovation and the environment is actually forcing the vendors forcing the vendors to work together, bring innovation to the market together. I think from the NetApp perspective, I think this is kind of guiding us very, very strongly, especially I think if I look into this year or next year, there's a lot of focus on our side on giving the customer more offering, better integrated to the different clouds, different partners. I think, for example, we innovate a lot with VMware, as an example. We innovate a lot with the three hyperscalers. And I think there is also a lot of focus on basically driving innovation with the customers, from the customer backwards. And you deal with a lot of software on different clouds. So what kind of headaches and opportunities does that present to you?
Sure. Can you hear me? The way I look at this, the cloud, what it's done is it liberated, is what I call it, liberated businesses, enterprises, developers to focus on what is for them. It's like if you're an airline company, you don't make airlines. Instead, you focus on improving customer experience and the value and the growth of business. Same thing if you're a software company, if you're a service company, if you're a product company, instead of building all these data centers and infrastructure, that's not a core for you. So you leave that to the public cloud, like how the airlines leave it to the Boeing and Airbus there. So it liberated to innovate. You don't have the internal constraints of your capital expenses or the IT frictions or your limitations with the data center. So it's really enables you to focus on your business, which is the core. That's what you're supposed to do, and you can scale this. You don't have limited to any of the constraints there. So that is the advantage that even developers, they can do an incremental innovation. They're not do the 5-year refresh innovations aligning to data centers there, and you can provide a much better security and safety and experience there. With the headaches, with one of me that is like if you put in a teenager in a candy store, and He has a lot of candies. He can eat whatever he wants to eat there. He doesn't even know who's paying, how much it costs there. It creates a lot of bad behaviors, and people don't relate this connects to the business outcome there. So if you don't manage it there, like look at the cloud bills, it's more complicated than what we used to get a telco bill for 20 years back there. So it has a lot of inherent challenges of how you manage this. There's a lot of advantages there, but if you don't use it right, it'll hurt your business. It'll hurt your profitability over there. So that is the major headache there and challenges. Also, if you're not careful about it, you can compromise the data and compromise your security, your customers there. So you need to be very careful. So it's basically, it has a cost, it has a price for it, and you have to use it with a lot of care and a lot of discipline over there. That's my view.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Shri, let's have your perspective on this, especially given some of the points that Andy just mentioned. There's too much candy out there, a lot of past services, a lot of things to R&D on. How does that play out in how you advise your clients, and how do you advise your clients when you have these very aggressive sales pressures from all the different cloud vendors asking the CIOs to go one way or the other?
Absolutely. But the amount of lights on me, last time I had this many lights on me was during my wedding. So, that was a long time ago. From a cloud perspective, a multi-cloud perspective, in terms of how do we approach it at Accenture? Firstly, we don't lead with technology, right? And this is also something that I encourage people to do, is if you look at a boardroom, and if you look at a C-suite, and if you look at how they're going to convey at their next investor meeting when they report out, what are they reporting out? Because that's really what's on their mind. Okay? So if we then break that down and you go all the way back down to a CIO, and then we talk about cloud, and we talk about multi-cloud, there are tremendous opportunities that the cloud can potentially offer, right? But it has created a lot of, I would say, concern. It's created a lot of strife. It's created a lot of fear. I mean, if I was to get into some of those things, right, there is this emerging cloud value gap, right, whereby many of our clients are seeing a gap in terms of what they thought they would get from the cloud versus what they're actually getting, right? There is this tech debt thing. The yesteryear's fear of on-prem tech debt, mainframe tech debt, is now this fear of this emergence of tech debt of the cloud. Right? And am I saying cloud is bad? Absolutely not. Right? The cloud is incredible. Right? Is it really a cost play? No. It's an agility play. It's a scalability play. And it has to be the right workloads, right, in the right format on the cloud. We've done a blind migration to the cloud, like lemmings, to be honest.
Lift and shift.
Lift and shift. I was going to say exactly lift and shift. A blind lemming-like migration to the cloud en masse. And so now we really need to get very specific about which workloads, in which place, in which format. And that is from edge to on-prem to cloud to multi-cloud.
Very wise answer. Monty, what about your perspective, especially given the opportunities and challenges that arose because of the things that happened globally? I know Ukraine war seems like weighing the past, but still waging on. That's your perspective.
So, when you go last on a panel, all the good answers are already taken, right? So, I may be repeating some of the things that...
Let's ask ChatGPT.
But, honestly, as Shri was mentioning, one of the things we've seen, a few years ago, there was this, lift and shift as you call it. There's a mad rush in cloud first, right? What it created, and I think it's a very important distinction we have to make between what we call as multi-cloud and multiple siloed clouds. Okay, there was Amazon with AWS, that was the original cloud, and then Microsoft came up with Azure, Google, and IBM, and Oracle, and Ali Cloud. So these are all multiple siloed clouds that have built tremendous capability and capacity and scalability for their customers. But what it has done now is created this complexity. 87% of the enterprises are inherently multi-cloud, whether they know it or not. Right? So complexity is there. How do we solve that complexity? So that's why I say we distinguish between what is multiple siloed clouds, where you have to have skills, where you have to have the tools and automation to work on those, versus the multi-cloud strategy that most of our customers are now deploying. Is how can we create an abstraction layer over these clouds, and how can we create a better experience for our customers, for our employees, for our operations, and most importantly, to save costs. So that's what we're seeing most of the time.
So do you see multi-cloud being the reality in most enterprises? So when Satya Nadella goes the recent earnings call was touting the fact that some of the big name brands are going end-to-end on the Azure cloud. What do you think about that?
So, if you talk to the hyperscalers, as we call it, right, the public cloud leaders, obviously they want to tout their cloud, and that's what they're developing. There is a big advantage of using them because they have built all these services. But what it has done, though, is if you look at the customers and they're looking at, okay, I don't want to get into a vendor lock-in, first of all, right? If I go on Azure, if I have end-to-end services with, what Satya is saying, then if my developers want to develop something on the edge or on private cloud, or if I have a mission-critical application that I still want to run on-prem, how are we going to manage all of that? There is a complexity, there is a skills issue, there is an automation issue, there's a tools issue, and we need to solve it. And that's why, if you look at it, what was cloud first became cloud chaos. And now at VMware, we're calling it now the cloud smart approach, which is, an abstract layer on top of it, which we can actually take it, where we can provide a consistent experience for our customers and our partners and whoever is using it to be able to use any cloud. That's the important thing.
Got it. Next question, Sriyam, will start with you. So in the last 1 year, I've seen many articles about big CIOs, major companies saying this cloud cost is becoming too expensive. I actually want to implement things on-premise and bring the workloads back. So let's start with this. In general, good idea or bad idea?
In terms of bringing workloads back, I would actually say, if you move workloads to the cloud, there's no need to bring them back. There's no need to bring them back on-prem. And cost isn't really the driver here for cloud. We talked about it previously. I think the discussion when you're talking about a CIO is how do we change the narrative for a CIO, right? If you think about a CIO, think about the average spend, 4 to 6 points of revenue. If you go to the Fortune 500, look at even company number 500, which does about 20 to 25 billion in revenue, right? That means the CIO is spending more than $1 billion on their IT stack. As soon as you spend $1 billion on a stack, you start to get the scrutiny of other functions in your organization. People and talent, marketing, finance. And it's because of this scrutiny that you start to see CIOs make decisions, sometimes irrational. So how do we start to equip a CIO, right, with the business value of the cloud, right? And this is the narrative that we as technical folks sometimes don't do. We don't start talking business value in terms of what we do, right? That being said, we need to be able to figure out how to use the cloud far more efficiently in a value-based fashion versus the blind migration.
And so that's a really good point. So let me begin and you with your, and you deal with a lot of acquisitions, a lot of these clouds. And I know that many of the software that was written, let's say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, may not be utilizing the best services that well, and that is partially contributing to huge cloud costs. What role do you see in
re-engineering or refactoring software, rather than doing this blind decision of saying, oh, it's costing too much, let's just bring the workload back.
This is where now even in Broadcom we've done this on their look at, even though the software does a lot of different things, but the underlying it's in the layers, it's a common layer. As a company, you need to embrace the multi-cloud because each cloud has its own advantages there. The survey is that about 80% of the participants said that they all support multi-cloud. There were 17% of those already running workloads in multi-cloud. So to enable that, you need to have an architecture in the cloud. That's why we created a software central engineering group over there. So it comes up with a platform which gives the guidance that, hey, how can you develop a software which is not so sticky and no needing to the cloud? You can easily migrate this way. Monty said, right? You can be an abstraction layer, virtual layer, so that you can take the advantage of all these different cloud over there. So as an R&D there, we have our architecture platform, architecture playbook, and governance and discipline. It's like you don't let the developers go and pick and choose what they want to do. It's governed there. Like the previous question, right? You asked about they're bringing back the workload there. It is, if you don't do it right, this won't happen. This is very common. In early 2000, I've heard this many times. When you outsource it, then they say outsource is so expensive, I wouldn't insource it. Why don't I start my own organization in India, we insource it? That's not the answer. It means you have not only architecture. You need to change the mindset, the leadership, the culture, the discipline. If you can compare apple to apple, of course, cloud is expensive. 30% expensive. Same thing, outsourcing is expensive. But you don't do it the same way. You have to do it differently. You have to do it differently architecturally. You have a different way that model. You have to organize it differently. You have different people, different skill set there. So it's a mix of the whole thing. It's just not one architecture there. I call it, I coined this term that cloud conscious culture. That has to go from developer to the guy who tests, to the supports, even the way architects, the business partner. So that's how we need to be, and you can take your cost conscious culture to it. You do it, cloud will be cheaper, and you'll be much more valuable.
I'm glad that you have this difference of opinion from these major CIOs who are now looking at the bill and maybe threatening to bring the workloads back. Okay, so finally, let's move to something that I know we're all itching to talk about, which is how will AI and edge computing impact cloud architectures overall. I know we had a deal talk with VMWare, but let me phrase it this way. So AI has a very different workload pattern on the cloud. As someone was saying, more memory intensive, CPU intensive, pretty much everything intensive. And then you have a proliferation of edge computing that's about to hit us. Obviously, all the Teslas in the Bay Area, they're all running edge computing. But we're going to see more. We're going to see robots. We're going to see drones. We're going to see lots of things coming out. How do you think this is going to impact the cloud architectures? And how should people react to the engineering challenges? Let's start with you, Ronen.
So I think I'm glad we got to the AI question, and I do think that basically the challenges of AI today means that the cloud is not a architecture, but you actually need to have the right data architecture, the right choices across the stack in the cloud, so that you are basically effectively reaching the right results. I do want to start by my opinion. I think that AI and ML in the large scale will mostly happen in the cloud in the long term. I think the economic for that is very, very strong. If you want to, I can walk you offline through the economics, but things like big compute and basically seasonality are just the beginning. I think the strongest parameter is the fact that the GPUs and TPUs of today are obsolete in 18 months. It's really hard to make an on-prem justified purchase of something so expensive when the lifespan is not as long as other things, right? So I think I'll start with the fact that the cloud architecture has an advantage. I think the second thing is that cloud doesn't necessarily simplify or eliminate the need to make a lot of other choices across the stack. And that's where everything matters. It matters which storage you're using, what latency pattern you're determining. It matters what matters what is your process for learning, etc., where your data is, how do you cache data, especially from kind of my position where I work a lot with different customers. It's really about adjusting the data topology or the data estate so that basically AI and ML work effectively, and that you are actually able to cost effectively, continuously generate value into the company. And I'll say that it starts with really the architect understanding what is involved in really building efficient and effective AI and ML. That is not I'll call it like a lab project, but actually something the organization is going to use in the core. And the minute that they do that, and they work with the right level of expertise to design the right architecture, I think it's actually going to be sustainable and definitely sustainable in the cloud. I think the level of knowledge or deep knowledge that is required across the stack is something that is missing today. And definitely there are experts like that, but not a lot and not in most places. So my advice is basically work with a reference architecture, try to drive expert to support you. It is key for sustainable AI and ML and something that is cost effective.
Thanks, Ronen. Andy, your opinion on how AI and edge computing is going to impact the cloud architectures?
The thing is, like now everybody's in a mad rush to add AI and ChatGPT to everything, Copilot or assistant there. No, they're all looking at it from a technology perspective. Then I have to have something. But like you heard, it's expensive. It's going to be not that cheap, and that's why it has a lot of the design there. So first is before you look at your architecture, cloud model, is there a business value? Does it make sense to put it there? It's not like an X and Y doesn't I also have to do it. Sometimes you put it there, then it becomes too expensive, and doesn't fit your business model. So just make sure that there's an alignment, there's the potential, there's the value. Once you do that, then you have to embed it like architecture there. So I look at that from organization-wise, you need to have an AI platform. Looking at the content, the technology is much more valuable. And instead of putting in silos like organizations like ours, there's so many business groups over there, you can take value of it. You want to centralize it, you want to put a framework there and leverage. So, and that's why the multi-cloud, there's a lot of layers over there. So you can take advantage of all these multi-clouds and layers where you want to add the AI. It's not like one specific that needs layer there. So this is where the CTO organizations, the architects play a huge role. Say, how can I make this AI more cost effective? I used to conceivable and aligns with the business.
Sri, your opinion on what you would advise the CIO if they ask you this question? Hey, I'm not going to be a manufacturer. I've heard a lot about this AI thing happening. And I learned about edge computing. What should I do to make an architecture? What would you advise the CIO who asks you the same question? It's an automatic manufacturer CIO who's saying, hey, this AI and edge is going to completely disrupt my cloud architecture. What do you say?
To a CIO, I'm going to helicopter on this conversation as well as I always do, regardless of the question. AI is going to change the game and it's going to actually accelerate workloads. This is a discussion myself and Andy had. If I was to go all the way back to the grandfather of private cloud, the mainframe, right? If you look at the mainframe, it's a conversation that's nearly dear to myself and Andy's heart, right? Mainframes are great. They do the job. They're resilient, they're scalable, they're available. But talent is the issue, right? So at some stage, you got to get firms off the mainframe. But the challenge there is the manual intervention on changing lines of code, right? Which can run into hundreds of millions of dollars, right? With AI, that just completely changes the game, right? And
that's an interesting use case, which is actually using AI to change the code mix.
That's exactly. So when you asked about, what's the narrative we're taking to CIOs in these kind of verticals, automotive, public sector, financial services, that's where we're talking about AI.
Yeah, that also has a positive impact on data security and data management, especially moving off of mainframes and things like that.
100%.
Monty, I know your predecessor from VMware talked a lot about how AI and edge computing was going to change
things. But I'd love to get your perspectives, specifically from an edge perspective with all these edge devices coming in, and some of the cool things that VMware is doing.
Yeah, I mean, from an edge perspective, Ajay was here earlier today and he talked a lot about, our from a VMware perspective, all the products and everything we're doing around it. And it's just mind-boggling the volume of data that we're generating. Right? And for AI to be successful, not just the Gen AI, but the traditional AI to be successful, that data has to rewind somehow. And so that's one of the things that's a big challenge that we are trying to solve. But I also want to, give another perspective on the Gen AI thing that I found very interesting. The other day I was watching an interview with Sam Altman from OpenAI. This was way back in 2019. And somebody asked him a question, hey, how is OpenAI going to make money? And his answer was, well, ChatGPT will figure it out. Or OpenAI will figure it out. Right? And look, it's a different ballgame right now. So the key to this is, there is, and I think my panelists have talked about it, the cost associated with building these models is very, very expensive. And at VMware, that's one of the things we're trying to solve is, how do we work on it to bring that cost down? And one of the ways is the cost of GPU is very high. And just like we have innovated in the virtualization days, VMware is now trying to figure out a way to, how do we use more CPU capacity to not replace the GPUs, but actually, enhance what the CPUs can do to process those large models quickly.
Any latent compute capacity that's out there for you maximize it.
Exactly. So that's one of the things. And then the second piece, I think Sabir talked about it in the previous panel, is the hallucination. It's the fact that how can I rely on the output of what the model is bringing in? Is this something that I can rely on to run my enterprise? Right? Those policies and those maturities still need to be worked out. Right? And I think that's where some of the things that we're doing on our side is trying to create that processing power or to virtualize those processing powers to do massive amounts of data processing to get the right results out.
All right, so we are towards the end of our time, so I'm going to ask a rapid-fire question, short answers only. This is your opportunity to be either politically correct or incorrect, okay? So, I have some money to invest in NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Who should I invest more in? Let's start with you, Monty. Quick answer.
So quick answer, and I'm going to be biased here, right? We work with all of these names that you talked about. If I really think something, if I want to invest something, I'll invest in VMware right now. I'm going to be biased just because we have that really cool abstraction layer that works with all of these providers.
All right, okay, sweet.
I can't top Monty with that. But, representing Accenture, the only thing I can say is that our approach is definitely vendor neutral, client specific, best of breed.
Okay.
So I will, because you pick four best of breed partners that we engage with, and we recommend at the right time, the right place.
Okay, yeah, they have the revenue expense, yeah.
You
Okay.
can pick some other clients or other firms on there, and I won't be so, chivalrous, you could say, but in this case, they're all outstanding firms.
All right, Andy.
In the previous panel, you heard that memory intensive, storage intensive, network intensive. Then you didn't say Broadcom. Okay? Broadcom has all of those. We have components over there. We even said last earnings call, nothing is going there. So, but thing is, there's enough time there. There's enough opportunities there. You saw all the layers over there. There's more than one player. Every vertical, every horizontal has opportunity platform there. So it should be on all four, all the five there.
Okay.
And next 2-3 years, we'll have a great time. These companies, when they come out of this downturn, they'll all thrive. That's my view there.
All right. Ronen, parting thoughts on this?
So I think what's amazing in what happened is that all of these 4 billion companies needed the OpenAI, which was a smaller startup, to actually bring the technology out. And it wasn't the innovation, because I worked very closely with all four of them. A lot of the innovation was already there. It's actually, I think, the business model, the exposure, basically how you package it and make it available to the customer, that was different. So I actually, I think beyond these four companies, I think people that like data, like AI and ML, you have a lot of very good opportunities to invest. And I actually think many other smaller vendors will even outperform the bigger vendors due to the innovation. So I think let's all learn something from this last wave of innovation. I think it's part of the advantage of being here in the Valley to see that happen. I think we'll see a few other companies that really break through even faster than the hyperscalers. Okay?
3 years gone.
Want to have a real discussion? Get those cameras off, turn the mics off, and then we can go.
Conserve some breaks. Okay. All right. So here's my takeaway. I should add VMware to the list, and maybe I should go with some better place. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, panel. Let's have a round of applause for this panel.